Good afternoon, evening, from wherever you're joining us today, and welcome back to another episode from our favorite show, Azure Happy Hour. My name is Rashmita, and I'm the event planner for Microsoft Reactor India. I'm here today joined by our very own host, Vivek, of course. He runs this show, and we have another special host, Hadeel, and both of them they work at Microsoft as cloud advocates. But before I hand over the floor and we start the session, I would request you all to just read our code of conduct. So we are all here to learn together. So please be respectful of other people's views, understanding of differences. Be kind and considerate in the way you engage. The chat section is open throughout, and we do encourage you all to participate. Our speakers will answer all your questions during the session, so please feel free to drop your question in the chat section. With this, I would now like to hand over to Vivek and enjoy the session. Thank you, Vivek.
Thank you, Rashmita. Hey, all, welcome to one more episode of Azure Happy Hour. I know it's been like 2 years, 3 years now, 3 years now that Azure Happy Hour has been running from the last 3 years. And I have forgotten how many episodes we have done in Azure Happy Hour. So, pardon me. And so, just to introduce myself, I'm Vivek. I've been running Azure Happy Hours and I'm part of the senior cloud advocate and a part of the Microsoft. And today, I wanted to learn, what is artificial intelligence. So, yes, I've been, involved in, talking about artificial intelligence, doing stuff on it, but not really gone into the histories and use cases and so many other things, as deep as Heddle, right? So, let me bring Heddle in. Um Hello, Heddle.
Hi Vivek, how are you doing? So good to be here with you
I,
today.
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Welcome to my show, Azure Happy Hour. And please go ahead and introduce yourself. I know it's a long list because I see in a bunch of things you have done. So I
Yeah.
just want you to introduce yourself to the Indian audience here.
Of course. So thank you so much for having me on Azure Happy Hours show. Hello, everyone, from wherever you are joining us. Thank you all so much for attending this amazing, insightful talk on AI. So before we kind of start and dig into all things AI, kind of tell you all about the outline and what we have, in store for you, I would like to introduce myself. So my name is Hadeel Shubair. I'm a regional cloud advocate and data analytics engineer at Microsoft Reactor, Middle East and Africa. So part of what I do as a regional cloud advocate, just like as Vivek, we kind of want to share knowledge on kind of tech topics that we are passionate about, that we love to learn about, and kind of also explore more tech topics and cloud technologies and platforms and such. So I am part of, Microsoft Reactor Middle East and Africa. We always give kind of these in-person, hybrid as well, and online events. Kind of my areas of expertise lie around data analytics, data science, artificial intelligence, what we'll be talking about today, machine learning, as well as exploring other kind of other topics, tech topics that are, kind of booming out there. So such as like Internet of Things, maybe the metaverse, virtual reality, Microsoft Azure, and so much more. Whatever you wanted, you name it. I am always all about learning and exploring here, and I'm so excited to be here with you today to kind of take you on a journey to kind of, Vivek, we want to introduce the audience to how they can get started with AI, how to take, kind of the first steps, kind of introduce them to the core concepts and such, and kind of, have fun with it. So as Vivek mentioned, I'm here as like an AI expert, you can say. So you can feel free to kind of drop in the questions that you have, and with that, I think we can get started.
Yes, and by the way, it's very nice to see people joining us from Germany. Hello, and there are people joining us from Manchester. Fantastic. Hello, folks, and let us know where you're joining from as well, so that we can say hello to you from India. But by the way, Hadil is in Dubai, right?
Dubai,
Right
yes,
now,
I am based in
Dubai.
Dubai, UAE. So if we have any fellow kind of, Dubai, UAE people, tell me.
Fantastic. So yeah, so let's start with the you know uh, what's AI? Basically, let's start
Yeah.
with the basic thing. Wow, nice to see. By the way, Lisbon. Yeah, people are there from Dubai as well.
Hi
Very nice.
everyone. Hello, hello. We are so happy to see everyone from wherever you are joining us. Please let us know in the chat, obviously where you're joining us from. So actually, Vivek, before we kind of, dig into what AI is all about and all that stuff, just to kind of, take the audience on like what to expect, what we'll be covering today. This is kind of like a beginner friendly, very, entertaining session where we kind of learn together about, AI, the definition, the concepts, and kind of like the goals and the fields and the types of AI that we have, because we have several types. Then I'm going to be presenting to you kind of like use cases and applications in several sectors, because artificial intelligence, for those who don't know, can be applied to literally every single sector that you can think of. So I'm going to be presenting some examples here and there, so you can see kind of the different industries that depend on AI. And then we will be talking about how you can get into AI yourself, like as an AI, as someone who comes from an AI background and data science background, I can kind of give you like some tips to help you kind of get started, because this is going to be kind of an introductory kind of course. So we won't be going on forever explaining every single concept, but I will be giving you kind of the basic kind of framework to build on your AI kind of journey. And then we will lastly be kind of talking about some AI services that we have on Microsoft Azure and how that is important and going to leverage you on your AI journey. That being said, I am going to start. So, before we begin, let's kind of think, think, how did AI come about? Do you have any idea, Vivek? I am just wondering.
No, no.
I got
No
you.
idea. I was like surprised to see this. Oh yeah, nice. I mean, this is what I wanted to know because I've been talking about AI and specifically working on Azure AI
Yeah,
and delivering sessions and building things with SDKs and other things, but I've not gone into building models and deploying models and probably gone into the as depth as like this. Like, how did AI come about? That would be a good story to hear now.
yeah. Yeah, for sure. So it's actually very interesting. So let's go back a bit to kind of where it all started, just to kind of have an idea how this term came all up about. So our journey actually started in the year 1955. This was actually the year John McCarthy, who is actually a computer science pioneer and inventor, he was the one who actually came up with the term artificial intelligence. But 5 years before that, so like in 1950, Alan Turing kind of developed a test to kind of, test the intelligence of like a computer. The test was kind of to see, how can you as a human distinguish like if you are talking to a computer or you're talking to a human. So then, like 5 years later in 1955, John McCarthy kind of discovered AI and started talking about it and kind of sharing it with the community. A year later in 1956, he organized the big Dartmouth conference, which was actually huge back then, and he actually kind of there identified AI or recognized AI as being a field in computer science. So there they defined AI as being the science and kind of engineering of like making intelligent machines. So this is kind of how like the journey started. Doing trials here, tests there, and such. But then John McCarthy was actually named the father of AI because he was the one who invented the kind of the term. So yeah, that's kind of the story of it.
That's an interesting one.
Yeah. So I'm going to be kind of moving into Vivek, continuing that pace just to kind of, take the audience on like the journey and the timeline that we have. So I'm going to be kind of talking to them, about the history of machine learning, but in a very, brief, quick, fun way. So obviously, as you can see here in this like visual, we have, as I said, in 1950, Alan Turing developed the Turing test. And then in 1955, John McCarthy came up with the term artificial intelligence. And, in the Dartmouth conference, he kind of defined that term. Then for like 10 years, from 1956 to 1966, there was like a lot of research, everything was new, everything was cool. And then they kind of came up with the first chatbot, which we have, as we can see here, Shaky the robot and Eliza. So, they would do some kind of small tasks such as like natural language processing. And then they kind of started moving on to kind of more things, more other cool things and such. Then the research kind of stopped between the year 1970 to 1980. So they called it like an AI winter break, because there was kind of, at the time, there was not enough compute and it didn't really do that much. So this was like, as I said, an AI winter break. Now, in the 1990s, almost, the personal compute started coming back, and we started, using, computers became more accessible into our homes. We started using it everywhere, and also, we had the cloud and all that stuff. So it started to kind of take on and switch from these very small tasks like NLP to these, switching to these. They wanted to make these huge, massive systems that they kind of wanted to build. So they kind of focused on AI systems that were able to kind of do like a single thing, but like very, very well. So, for example, the most basic example I can give you, for example, we have a big vacuum cleaner. So, you could use a vacuum cleaner and it could automatically like vacuum your entire house, but like do it like in a very good way. They also kind of came up, with vision systems. So, for example, vision systems that can detect, like, for example, lung cancer very well. But for example, they can't detect something else. So if you show like a vision system a picture maybe of like a tree, it would not be able to detect that. So something that was very specific. So now we can say that we are at the age, or like, yeah, at the age kind of where, we are in the age of application. We have all these new big huge technologies that are kind of taking over in a way and are being involved in our lives and that we're using every day, from data science, artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data, deep learning. You have also the metaverse. You have all the new technologies like internet of things, and all these new kind of platforms and cloud technologies that are kind of, really, being a huge advancement in where we are today. So we can say, from that timeline, that we started from the age of invention, and today we are in the age of application. And that being said, this is the kind of the history of like machine learning, just kind of get an idea of how it goes. And today we will be talking about AI specifically.
That's a long journey for AI, right? Like it started in 1950, and
Yeah,
then we are still here, right? In
we are still here
2020,
today.
learning, getting started with AI,
Of course.
which is, and it's also true, right? It's a technology, it's evolving, and there was no much of use cases, no much of
Yeah,
compute power as well, and not much of data as well, I believe, for
yeah. There
doing
was
any kind of
barely,
yeah. So I think because the data coming into picture, the compute power coming into picture, uh, all of these things led to the the boom of AI now,
of course.
right? So that's the thing. So cool. Let's move forward.
Let's go. So, hello everyone. Let's talk about artificial intelligence, our topic for today. So, Vivek, the way I like to begin is I'm going to kind of ask you a couple of questions. And you probably do know the answers to this, but this will kind of get you in the mood of AI. So, have you ever heard of Alexa or Siri?
No.
Oh, come on, Vivek, you have. Don't do this to me.
No.
You have not? Okay, I will believe that. So Alexa or Siri, like the voice assistant, obviously, that voice assistant helpers that kind of you tell them like you give
Oh,
them command.
Alexa.
Oh,
I missed the word. Sorry, Alexa. Yes.
no problem. Yes. So obviously, we have all heard of Alexa and Siri. Have you ever seen self-driving cars? Of course, we're in the age today. We have self-driving cars like Tesla and such. Have you ever wondered, for example, when if you have an iPhone, if you're an iPhone user, how the iPhone's face recognition actually works? Like, how does it actually detect? And for example, the last question I can give you is: have you ever wondered how Google Maps maybe updates itself while you're driving, and like while you're changing your routes, and kind of helps you, develop the best route for you? So all these kind of technologies use one thing in common, and that is on the screen artificial intelligence. So they use artificial intelligence, and this is kind of where you can see how AI is being integrated in our daily lives, even though we might not even realize it. So AI kind of uses programming and code to kind of describe certain algorithms, but using data. So it uses data, algorithms, and programming to to give you kind of that input of the giving you kind of predictions, solutions, or outcomes to it. So let's kind of define AI. So it's AI kind of it involves using computers to do tasks that traditionally require human intelligence. What that means is you are basically kind of uh, giving the AI the ability to understand, think, and learn, and kind of mimic human behavior. So you're teaching a computer, or you're teaching a robot to kind of do the tasks that we as humans kind of do. So this kind of also means, we're creating algorithms to kind of classify, analyze, and draw predictions in the data. So artificial intelligence depends heavily on data. You need to feed it some data to kind of give you the outcome or the prediction or the solution that you are kind of looking for or expecting from it. And this also involves acting on data, learning from new data, and improving over time with the data that you kind of feed it. So this is kind of just an overview of how AI is and what it is all about. Now, it is kind of, if you want to say it in other words, it is kind of, you know, used to kind of solve problems, give you suggestions, strategic suggestions, help you in your decision making progress, give you some kind of, results or outcomes that you're looking for in your project or in the model that you use. So this is why AI is very, very important, because it can do all these things. So it has become very incredibly important to modern businesses, organizations, today. So this is kind of an overview of what AI is.
So just to summarize that, basically, just for audience as well and for my understanding as well. So I mean, what we call AI is basically if you are looking for some kind of predictions or some kind of analytics,
Yes.
and you have bunch of data with you, and
Mm.
maybe different kinds of data or different
Yeah.
source systems of data as well, and you are taking that data
Mm.
and you're learning like a human,
Yes.
and just like that, right? So basically, for example, if my daughter is learning different colors, feeding her with different colors every time that we show her different things and say this is blue, this is black, this is red,
Yes.
and more, you feed her with the more data, like the similarly the computer system, you feed with more data,
Of course.
it predicts. Later on it learns that, okay, this is always black, or this is always white, this is always
Exactly.
blue.
Yeah.
So that's what AI is. So it's basically mimicking the human intelligence, and you're bringing that to the system, right? So
Yes.
yep, yeah, that's
Perfect.
that's that's perfect now.
Yeah, and that's a very good example, the one that you used, like in very simple terms. Exactly, just like you're teaching your daughter how to learn the colors, you're literally teaching a machine how to kind of read and understand the data that you're feeding it, so it can kind of understand how to give you, you're training it to give you kind of the result that you're looking for. So it has to go through a training process, just the same way that you're training your daughter, you have to kind of train the machine or the computer that you have. So, Vivek, that's an amazing example. So, let's kind of summarize very quickly. So AI, as I said, it is the ability for a computer to think and learn by feeding it data. And with AI, obviously, it depends heavily on kind of helping you kind of solve problems. It kind of helps you do any tasks that any human would do, by learning, by teaching it. And it is actually a combination of machine learning and deep learning techniques. So if you're not familiar with these two, the machine learning and deep learning are actually parts or parts of the AI kind of system. So we are going to be talking about those two terms. And AI models are trained using obviously huge volumes of data that can make intelligent decisions. This is also kind of where I will teach you or like tell you how AI actually works. So, as we said, just to kind of summarize all of this, we're living in a very data integrated world. So, AI is actually one of the hugest technologies that's actually transforming every walk of life. It gives you like insights to improve your decision making in your organization, in your business, in whatever kind of decision that you want to take. And obviously, what's great about AI, for example, is these AI algorithms are designed to kind of, Vivek, help you make decisions using real-time data. So, for example, the best example I can give you is Google Maps. As I said, Google Maps is a big one. So we all use Google Maps to kind of, if you want to go to a new location and such. So let's say you're driving to a new location, but you don't have Google Maps. So you would kind of depend on the signs in the road, and kind of on the vision of the road, maybe like 200 to 400 meters maximum. But then you would not see like if you have a roundabout ahead of you, if there's construction, if a road is blocked, if maybe a new road is opened, if there's a better route for you, you would not know. Now, with the use of Google Maps, which is obviously AI integrated, it uses real time data to kind of update you, while you are live. It kind of helps you, if there's congestion, it kind of lets you know if there is something. It will kind of help you redirect you to like a better route to that new location. So now we can say, we can live without AI, but AI just makes it easier for us, to kind of, go on with the tasks that we're doing and with the life, that we have. So this is kind of a very simple example that I can give to, kind of help you understand, instead of kind of, depending on the road and not knowing maybe if the road was blocked, then what route you would take. AI helps you kind of take that decision, you see that decision in advance, so you can kind of, arrange your ideas and kind of, go back and like take that decision for you. So this is kind of where AI is very important.
So there is a question from the audience.
Yes.
So the question is, yeah, this is a typical question. Like, whenever we are talking about AI,
Mm.
what is the difference between a machine learning and a deep learning? So
Yes. So that's a very good
this
question for the audience. Actually, we are going to be talking about this in the next few slides. So I'm going to literally be covering what machine learning is, what deep learning is, because these concepts are kind of very Vivek, very related to each other, especially that they fall under the AI umbrella. So we will kind of be covering the definition, and I'll kind of also be giving you examples so you can know how to differentiate between each concept. But that's in the next few slides.
let's go on then.
Sorry.
Let's move on to those things now.
Yeah, of
Those slides.
course.
Yeah. So
Perfect.
yeah, let's wait for her to answer that.
Yes, we will answer that. I promise. Just stay
Yeah.
tuned. We are almost there. So the goal of AI, obviously, just to summarize, is to mimic the human brain and create systems that can function intelligently and independently. For example, here, Alexa or Siri. So you tell Alexa or Siri to, for example, order your food for you, from a food application, or for example, you would tell, Alexa to kind of, suggest a movie for you. So here, when you're actually interacting with Alexa, you're actually interacting with AI without realizing it. So this is kind of where AI is integrated into our lives, and obviously, what happens here with Alexa, for example, or Siri, is it takes the input from you. So you tell Alexa, like, order my food for me, or open the blindfolds for me. So it will take the input, it will act on it, and then it will give you the output. So it will kind of, okay, order your food for you, or it will give you the suggestions for several movies that you're looking for based on historical data and such. So this is where AI comes to play. Now, obviously, we live in a data-driven world, and we live in a world where all these huge technologies are being involved into our lives. And there are many ways where we can see AI, but we don't realize it. So obviously, smartphones is one, self-driving cars is one. Other examples are like movie recommendations. So as I said, Netflix, based on maybe your historical data, Netflix can give you, kind of recommendations on what you would like to watch and suggestions. And that is because AI is integrated into it. We have, of course, chatbots. Chatbots are used on every single platform probably out there, e-commerce websites, social media, wherever it is. So these chatbots actually are not run by people; they're actually run by AI. So they've been trained by AI systems, and they have these models into them. The whole process that they give you the output. Once you ask them like a question, they will give you the output. And of course, search engines like Google search, for example. All of us use Google as a search engine, and search engines obviously they use AI to kind of rank, for example, the website based on your best results. So these are some ways where we can see AI in our world. And of course, I'm going to be giving more kind of examples on several applications in different sectors as well, in the next few slides as well. So, that being said, answering the question of our friend who asked us what the fields of AI is and what is the difference between machine learning and deep learning, this is where we come to it. So, artificial intelligence, we have kind of like an umbrella, and under that AI umbrella, as you can see here in the figure, you have a kind of three definitions to it. So, obviously, when it comes to AI, you have artificial intelligence. So, artificial intelligence is kind of like the bigger field. It is kind of any technique that enables computers to pretend to be human. Under that, you have machine learning. So machine learning is actually a subset of artificial intelligence or AI. So it kind of uses more, technical machine learning methods, statistical methods, more programming kind of models and such to kind of give your computer the ability to start learning things, but without kind of, um, you know, programming actually. So it really heavily depends on statistical methods, on, these kind of uh, programming methods, but without actually programming it. So you're feeding it kind of models. So under machine learning, you actually have some like specific models and specific. There are two types of machine learning. You have supervised learning and unsupervised learning. So supervised learning is, when when your data set is already, it is kind of tracked, it is supervised, and unsupervised is kind of, no, it's the opposite, of course. And under the supervised learning, you do have some types of algorithms. And under unsupervised learning, you have some types of algorithms as well. So we're not going to dig deeper into those, but basically, depending on the problem that you are trying to solve, you will use the, for example, let's say you have a problem where you want to predict the sales of, let's say, your product next year, for example. So you, because you have a prediction problem, under that you have some types of actually models or algorithms that you can use to help you, predict, and that can help you use. So based on the problem that you have, you can depend it, you can use the model that is actually related to that. Then the last kind of thing we have is deep learning, which is a subset of machine learning, and this is where you kind of try to find out more underlying features, that you may not know of. So this is kind of the difference between AI, machine learning, and deep learning. And actually, I've summarized it here in this, chart for you, just to kind of see the difference of, the definition of each, and what each one uses and where it can be used. So, for example, for example, AI, you can use, as we said, AI can be used for self-driving cars, for voice assistants like Siri, Alexa, for recommendation systems, search engines, Google Maps, and such. Machine learning, for example, you can use it. You can see machine learning being used in, for example, in social media. So, for example, when you go on Instagram, or Facebook, it will suggest to you people that you may know. So this is actually using machine learning. For example, virtual assistants as well, and for example, predicting traffic. Deep learning is more kind of, as I said, it kind of uncovers underlying patterns. So more deeper patterns. So for example, self-driving cars, you have financial fraud detection, visual recognition is an example, and such. And then you have also neural networks, which is also a subset of deep learning. And this is kind of, it is similar to the human neural system, but it analyzes the factors to the human neural system. So we have examples to that as well. So this is kind of an overview, just to give you an example, not to get you confused. Now, they're all kind of related to each other in a way, and they all kind of depend on each other in a way. But this is kind of an overview of how you can, kind of differentiate between each of the concepts.
So, Hadeel, is there any methodology to identify um, which problem statement belongs to which uh, field? Whether is it part of the machine learning or is it part of deep learning? Like, how do we decide? Okay, self-driving car comes into
Yeah.
this bucket, right? Because if I'm newbie to this whole thing, right? How do I make that decision? Like, okay, this is going to be part of the deep learning, and I have to go into the deep learning models or deep learning algorithms to build that,
Yeah.
or should I go into machine learning stuff? How do I differentiate that?
So that's a very good question, and it's actually a very common question that we all, think about. So really, it depends on your problem, what you are trying to solve. So you kind of have to. This is actually part of, you know, once you have, like, let's say you want to predict something or you want to classify something. No matter what, you have to be very clear with the objective that you are trying to find. So you need to kind of be very clear about, the goal, what you are trying to gain by the end of this cycle. Based on that, you will try, you have to kind of, there's no way to kind of see if this falls under this, if this falls under this, or such. There's no accurate way. You kind of have to just play around with the different models that you have. But these are just some examples of where you can see like each kind of field, or each example used, for example. and you can kind of play around with the models and the algorithms until you kind of get a hang of it. So there's no actually like one like, let's say, specific right way. There is a series of steps that we will walk through, kind of just to help you kind of understand, and make it easier for the audience to understand, once they want to start, with the first project, how to differentiate. But what's very important is they need to kind of be familiar with, the machine learning algorithms that they have, and all the different algorithms that you have, because when you get into the field of AI, it is very broad, right? We have many concepts, we have many algorithms, we have many models. We have a series of steps that we kind of can focus on. So that is kind of the way to go about it. So you kind of have to, it's like a trial and error kind of thing.
Yeah, so there's bunch of questions coming in.
Yeah.
So just give me a minute. So yeah, so there is a question on like yeah, we're going to share that, by the way. By the question is basically what is the prerequisite and how to get started with learning. We're going to
Yes.
we're going to talk about it. So let's
Yes.
wait for that. And there is a question on how is data privacy taken into consideration when dealing with data feed to AI models. So that is a very interesting question. It's like, I mean, it's a design question, but I would let you answer as well. Like, it's basically a data privacy
Yeah.
taken into consideration while you're dealing with data feeding to AI models. So, how do you make sure that data is not basically exposed, and we are not actually, sharing someone's data as part of this? And to be very honest, to answer this question, you have to build AI with responsible. So there has to be a responsible AI. There are six principles, which I know there's an amazing Learn module as well in Microsoft.
Yes.
So Sarat, you can actually go back and take a look at that Learn modules, and
Yeah.
in that six principles, while you're building AI models, you have to make sure that uh, you use those principles while you're building it. So
Yeah.
automatically you take care of the privacy, and some of these things, is available on the um, Azure machine learning dashboard,
Yes.
where you can build the responsible AI. There is a dashboard, there is a link. You can actually, see the assessment. We do the assessment of your model, and I'm not sure on whether it verifies on data privacy, but you could
Mm.
try and see whether it is taking care of that as well. But that is something which is already there. So there is one question. There is one more question. I think this is for you.
Yeah.
uh, can you please list all of the steps or process that are
Yes.
intermediate between machine learning model that works on Jupyter notebook to
Mm.
the model going to production with an example, say chatbot systems?
Yeah, we can give an example on that. We have actually a process of, like, maybe let's say general steps that you can take, and then from that, for example, you can kind of base that based on what you are, looking for. So we will be talking all about that. Everything is covered. Don't worry. This is going to be a session where we cover all these, kind of questions that you all have. Don't worry about it. But of course, feel free to ask us anything. And if we didn't cover anything, do let us know, for sure. But I think, Vivek, I think just for maybe like the sake of time, I think we'll
Yeah,
move on,
yeah, yeah.
kind of see, because we
There's
have
To be
amazing,
very honest, there's bunch of questions coming in.
amazing. I
So
love the
let's
question
go
and
ahead.
I love the interaction, but we will cover anything. And if we didn't cover
Yeah,
anything, just make sure to still list your questions, and we
yeah,
promise we'll still answer them.
yep.
Yeah.
Let's take
So,
all the questions today.
yes, we will take all the questions. Don't worry. So, Vivek, do you have any idea how AI works? This is a question from me to you. I just want to see how you think about it.
Yeah, so all I know is we take the data,
Mm-hmm.
we build the models with some algorithms, and
Yes.
we run through a couple of things. I know there is supervised, unsupervised, and there is bunch of things like classifications and other things, but I am not fully into it. But I
Yes.
know on the top level, I know this is a thing. And then you take it and you deploy it, you train it. uh, all these things I've done on Azure, so it's pretty easy to do it. So it's like you take the data, you click on some buttons, and you have your data being trained, right? And
Yeah.
then you get the URL, and once you
Yes.
have the URL, you have everything. So you just use
Yeah.
the SDK and call that URL, and push your verification on that, and it verifies. So that is what I have been doing. So that's my area.
That's a very kind of, let's say, you simplified it in a way for people, who don't want to go like deep into it. That's the beauty of, Azure AI in Azure, because it literally does that for you kind of in a way. So and this is something we'll talk about, at the end, very quickly. You and I, Vivek, we can cover that, just for the audience, who want to kind of get into AI and Microsoft Azure and all that stuff. But even though you answered that very correctly, I am going to talk about it more in maybe a simpler, maybe let's say simpler terms. So usually, how AI systems work is, first of all, you obviously you have data, so you feed it data, and you have processing algorithms, and then the AI systems will learn from the patterns and features in the data that they analyze, and based on that, they will give you the outcome that you are looking for. Now, each time you feed an AI system, and it will run a round of processing. All right, so you have the data and you have the algorithms. It will run a round of processing. Based on that, it will kind of test it, and it will measure its own performance. And based on that, it will develop additional expertise. For example, it could, if the model does not work, maybe you need to use kind of a different algorithm. If maybe you need to add maybe more data. So it's kind of, that's how kind of the way it works is, you have data sets and you have algorithms that will make up AI systems in a kind of very simplified way. Now, to better understand this, because maybe it could be confusing to some, I'm going to kind of show you and take you through an example. For example, let's say we want to train our AI model to be able to detect whether a patient has skin cancer or not. Now, this is kind of the process here. The usually way to identify skin cancer would have followed a process similar to this, without AI, before AI. So usually you would have a starting point, an action point, and then based on the action point, you will have a diagnosis. So the starting point, you will start by looking, for example, at a picture of a patient. It could be a high resolution birthmark that shows maybe, okay, that birthmark could possibly have, skin cancer. And then you will have an action point, like a doctor or an expert will analyze that picture, and based on what he sees, he will give a diagnosis, or if the patient has skin cancer or not. This is kind of a very general way of how usually it would look like, the process before AI. Now, thankfully, we have AI, so we can have like kind of more and a more accurate flow in a way, which kind of helps us in making the decision. So usually the steps are as follows. Usually you would have a goal, and then you will have your data set. You will feed the model based on the goal that you want. You will feed it with the data that is, obviously closely related to what you are trying to do. You will start by training the model. We will get the answers from the model, and then based on getting the answers from the model, you will take feedback from the model. How do we kind of explain this into further details based on the examples? So as I mentioned, we want to train our AI to be able to detect whether a patient has skin cancer or not. So we need to identify our goal, if the patient is okay or not okay. Then the data. So we will start getting patient data, and based on that, it's very important to know that the more data, the better your AI has to learn. So it would be very good, if you have, the more data you add, the more it can learn, and the more it can give you, maybe let's say, better prerequisites for your AI to kind of learn from it. Then you will start by actually training the model. What we mean by training the model is you start by kind of teaching your AI, and feeding it with AI, with data and answers. So you start teaching it, to be able to tell you whether the diagnosis is, possibly has skin cancer or not. You do this by kind of feeding your AI with outcomes, which is like patient data. So, because since you're the expert and you know that, you kind of start teaching, based on what you know, you kind of start teaching the model with what you know. Then you will start getting the answers from the model. So you will let your AI give you your answers based on what you taught it. So let's say you will kind of, after you kind of teach it and feed it with the models and such, it will kind of, if you feed it with a photo, it should be able to tell you if, this patient has skin cancer or not, if it's okay or not okay. And then based on that, you will see the results, and get feedback from the model. So you will give your AI feedback. So obviously, since you're the one who knows what the correct output should be, you you will be able to tell if your AI is actually working and give it answers if it's right or if it's wrong. Now, these steps, as I said, you can see here, with the more data the better. So let's say your data, give you wrong answers, you could probably add more data to it and kind of also retrain it again, and such. So these are kind of like maybe the steps of a flow of an example, if let's say you want to predict, or you want to detect whether a patient has skin cancer or not.
Yeah. So the you have the data, and one when you go into the train the model, right?
Yeah,
So how do you train the model? You apply some algorithms, right?
exactly.
So how do you decide which algorithm to apply?
So based on the type of problem that you have, as I mentioned, we have supervised learning and we have unsupervised
Yeah.
learning. And under supervised learning, you have classification problems and you have regression problems, and probably, I think, prediction problems. And under unsupervised learning, you have kind of clustering problems. Under these categories, based on, let's say you want to classify something into, two things, no matter what the problem is, or you want to predict something, under these you have specific algorithms under each kind of category. Now we have these in the learning module that we have, and on a GitHub link that I will share with the audience, if they want to kind of dig deeper and know more about, how to use, which algorithm for what, or what's the best way to choose the right algorithm. But in training the model, as you said, you kind of use, those machine learning algorithms and models, to kind of train your model to, kind of help you, go through the process and help you get the outcome that you are looking for, which is, if the patient will be okay or not okay.
Got it. I think that's a so I need to understand the different techniques, which is the supervised, unsupervised, and where
Yes.
these things are there and other things. Yeah, perfect. Got it.
Perfect. So this is kind of a general, maybe let's say, machine learning process. Just very quickly to give you like the steps. Obviously, this does not follow exactly, but if you want to have an idea, this is kind of the way it could go. Is first of all, you have a problem. You will start gathering the data from various sources. It could be from, if you are in your organization, if it could be online, it could be maybe through conducting surveys and such. But the most important thing to know is, obviously you need the data to be close to what you are trying to solve, because obviously if you're trying to detect lung cancer, you need patient data, for example. Then you will start by cleaning the data. So data, that we usually receive it, is very messy. And this is actually one of the very, as a data science expert, and AI kind of, I have an AI background. So, we use data a lot, and data sets are usually very, very, very messy. And actually 80% of our time we spend cleaning data. And so we kind of have to clean data to make sure, we don't have any missing values, we don't have any kind of, irrelevant information. And it kind of goes through a number of steps. Then you will start by actually model building. So here you select the model based on the type of problem that you have, and you kind of apply it. Based on that, your kind of AI process will take the model, and then it will kind of give you insights. And then you will kind of start drawing visualizations to kind of, show the process from raw data to actual visuals and graphs, to kind of give you an idea. This is a very basic flow that I wanted to kind of show the audience, just to kind of get them through, these steps. But, you can obviously dig deeper into each step with the GitHub kind of link that I will share with you, because obviously we have an hour only. So we're not able to kind of cover, it's a lot of information, but it will be very useful for you as a basic, kind of framework to kind of know and remember. Okay. So now we talked all about kind of that technical stuff. Let's have a bit more fun. Let's kind of talk about, the use cases and applications where we kind of see AI is being applied. Now, obviously, Vivek, AI is obviously being applied everywhere in every single sector that you can think of, right? So, for example, you can see it in the logistics and transportation, in banking, in finance, in manufacturing, in travel, healthcare, education is a big one. Um, in e-commerce, you can see it applied everywhere, obviously. So since AI actually is kind of applied into or deployed into a variety of sectors, it kind of has actually been used in most businesses nowadays. They really do depend on it to kind of help them with solutions and with all that stuff. So let's kind of dig deeper into some of the industries that use AI frequently and give just quick examples. So in e-commerce, kind of. Obviously, we talked about speech recognition virtual assistants. So we have Siri from Apple, Cortana from Microsoft, Google Assistant from Google, and Alexa from Amazon. So these days, obviously, you could be in your house, chilling, and you're too lazy to move out of your like bed and get the remote control for to open your TV. So you can ask Siri to actually do that for you. And once you do that, obviously you're giving Siri, or you're giving the system, the AI system, input. It will analyze this input, and based on that, it will give you the output. So this is kind of one example where you can see AI in e-commerce. Another example where you can see AI in e-commerce, and it is a very obviously a very popular example. I'm pretty sure most of us are very familiar with it, which is credit card frauds and fake reviews. So AI can actually help reduce the possibility of credit card frauds taking place by considering the usage patterns. And obviously, since it is AI empowered, they train the kind of the AI systems on to detect when there is a fraud and when there is not. And also, it can AI can actually help identify fake reviews. So, for example, let's say you're on a website, you want to buy something. Let's say you're on Amazon, you want to buy like a shopping bag. I don't know, like a bag, for example. It can actually identify fake reviews, or actually AI can actually identify, which ones are the real reviews. So it kind of helps customers to kind of see which one is which. So this is another way where you can see e-commerce. In education, so obviously AI in education, we came into a COVID-19 in 2019, and it hit us. And you know, now with the with the new technologies with AI, we were able to use AI technology to kind of help. It helps teachers to monitor students' data thoroughly. It can help also generate lesson plans, reminders, study guides, notes, and such as well. We have voice assistants. So obviously with COVID-19, I actually did hear that some education kind of schools and such, they did not use the direct involvement of a lecturer. They actually trained a kind of a voice assistant that would help the students learn from from afar, which I think is actually very cool. And then you can also have smart content. So obviously using AI, you can definitely kind of apply different animations and learning content, and fun kind of visuals that you want, that are customized for students, for example. So there are different, of course, different ways, but I just wanted to kind of give you a general idea of education. We're moving on to lifestyle. So self-driving vehicles is actually a very big one. As I said, we have Tesla, and we have all those kind of automobile manufacturing companies like Toyota that use machine learning to kind of train the computers and the self-driving vehicles to to drive in an environment and to even avoid accidents. Spam filters is actually also another big one. The emails that we use on our day-to-day lives, obviously, they have it actually uses AI that actually filters out which emails are spam and which emails are not spam. And I think that is actually very cool. Facial recognition. So, of course, on our iPhone, so you can, instead of obviously putting the password on your phone, you can just put it there, and obviously that is because you have an AI system, and also through recommendation systems. So obviously various platforms that we use in our daily lives, like e-commerce or entertainment sites, or maybe like YouTube sites, they kind of all use the recommendation system to kind of get the user data, and based on that they will provide the kind of customized more recommendations to users to kind of increase engagement. And this is actually a very widely used AI application in almost all industries that we can see. So this is these are some examples where we can see AI in lifestyle. And the last example I'm going to give here is AI in healthcare. So healthcare is actually a very, very big one because AI finds kind of diverse applications in healthcare specifically. So for example, we can see AI, be used in personalized care. So AI technology has been trained to kind of provide personalized like medicine, including giving like reminders on when you should take your medicine, when maybe you should kind of take a walk, for example, when you should maybe do a blood test and such. You have wearable trackers, so most of us are very familiar with wearable health trackers like Fitbit. You have Apple, you have Garmin, and so much more. And those are used to kind of monitor obviously your heart rate and like the amount of steps that you're using and the activity levels. You also have virtual nursing assistants. This is actually a very cool one, where you have an AI powered kind of virtual assistant that will kind of monitor from afar, your kind of your health. So it can kind of identify the illness based on like the symptoms of a patient. It can kind of monitor their health status and like track it, and kind of schedule even doctor appointments, and even do like so much more. And last one is patient diagnosis. So doctors can use AI to actually diagnose patients based on medical, let's say, scans and data like X-rays and such. So these are so many ways that where you can find AI be used in several and many sectors out there. Another one, let's say, also we can see AI in robotics or in robots. So robots are powered by AI to kind of help, with inventory management. I've actually went to a restaurant a few weeks ago, and I was shocked that the waiter did not actually get us the food. In fact, it was actually a robot like serving us the food. So uh, the fact that we live in a world where you have AI and you see it actually live in front of you, I think it is very exciting, and I think it's only going to move from there. So these are some examples of sectors where you can find AI.
Basically, there is one specific question on that,
Yeah.
actually. So the question is like, what do you think about full development of AI? Would it be dangerous?
Would it be dangerous to what? What was the question again?
So basically, if you have a full AI running and just like the Terminator and other things, will it be dangerous for the world if you have everything running on AI?
Uh, Vivek, I will leave the answer to you. I am not answering that question.
No,
You can please.
I don't think so.
I don't.
What I believe is human is much intelligent than the machines at any day, right? Even if you give all the powers to it, but human can just pull the plug.
Yeah.
So that's the whole point.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Okay.
Terminator is not coming. So be
Um,
happy.
of course. Yeah, exactly. That's a good one. So let's kind of move on. We have in social media, obviously Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. So now let's move on to the big part. So we had a question, Vivek. I remember from the chat you told me someone asked us, how can we get started into AI? So I'm going to kind of I summarize this in a very simple way for the people who are interested to get into this field, who are interested to know how you can get started and how you can actually learn and like be on the right track. So the first point that I would kind of encourage you to do is I would encourage to, for the audience or for people to start getting yourself familiar with the core concepts. Now, we are very lucky to be living in a world where we have internet, where we have technology, where we have free websites, free learning content, free learning resources, and rich content. So we have our Microsoft Learn platform, which I will be showing you at the end. And we also have obviously GitHub. So I think I would share it now. I think is best actually. I will share that with you just to kind of have a look. So if you just search Microsoft Learn, and maybe someone can put it in the chat for the audience. We have Microsoft Learn. You have a lot of kind of documents and learning paths for you that will kind of even certifications that will kind of help you at your own pace kind of learn whatever you want to learn. So let's say we want to learn about artificial intelligence. So I will just search artificial intelligence, and you will kind of find a lot of paths and such for you. We also have another kind of learning path here, for example, that I have for you. And this is actually one of the call to actions that we have in the end that I would highly recommend for the audience to check out. So, for example, you would go on Microsoft Learn and you want to know about, let's say, the fundamentals of Microsoft Azure, how you can get started with AI. So this is kind of a link that will help you start, and it shows you like this is a 34-minute, it is a beginner session, and it kind of even helps you prepare for like an exam if you want to do one later and get like a certificate for later and such. So we have amazing learning platforms. So I would highly recommend to check our Microsoft Learn platform, which is one of the best kind of resources that I could highly recommend for you to check out. I myself, as a cloud advocate, regional cloud advocate, and for you, Vivek, as well, I'm pretty sure we still use it and obviously highly benefit from it for our sessions. You have lots of rich content on different topics in different levels that you have. So this is one of the kind of, steps that I would highly recommend to check out. The next one is GitHub. So on GitHub, I will actually share with you a link, which is another call to action for us, and it is AI for beginners. It is actually a curriculum which has detailed 24 lesson curriculum all about everything you need to know about AI. So Vivek, for people who want to get into AI but don't know the concepts, are not sure how to get familiar, this is a very great way for you to kind of, if you don't know where to start, or like there's a lot of content out there, you can just go on this one and kind of dig deep at your own pace. So it teaches you a lot of like there's a lot of kind of content for it. You can know all about the history of AI, introduction to neural networks. You have computer vision. You can know about kind of some models, machine learning, object detection, uh, all the different types of AI, the techniques, the different algorithms that you have, and even like AI ethics, the data privacy, and all that. You can find that all here, and even you can use the code and kind of get started at your own pace. So this is a very actually good, highly recommended pace that I would recommend people to actually look at and highly check out. So highly check out the link, and I highly recommend that for you to check it out at your own pace.
So what I like about that GitHub repo is they have quizzes as well. So they have bunch of quizzes in between.
Yes.
So basically you will go through the quiz and you will learn as well, right? Because when
Yeah.
you answer some questions, you always know that you're right or wrong, right? So that is
Yes.
the thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's bunch of things there. I know I have started myself going through that
Mm.
GitHub repo.
Yeah.
It's a very rich content, right?
It
it's
is.
it's amazing content, and it is a path as well. So if you
Yeah.
see here, there is a path to learn.
Yeah.
So you might, when you go online and say I want to start with AI, bunch of content you get.
Yeah.
So then you'll say, okay, it's not for me. and
Yeah.
and you'll come back. So this is a very right place where you can go through a path. So there is
Yeah.
a path to learn something, right? So that's the
Yes.
beauty. So
Yes.
yeah, make use of it. That's the thing.
Yeah, highly recommend to check out. It would be a very good one for people who are very interested to to kind of go on the right track. So it's very it makes your life easier. So that's the first one. The next one is to obviously learn a coding language. So be familiar with any coding language that you want to kind of be familiar with, like, or that is close to you. The highly recommended one is Python. For me personally, I like to use Python because I believe it is the most beginner friendly. It is the easiest to learn, and obviously you can learn Python. You have plenty of resources to learn Python or R or Java or whatever kind of coding language you need, because obviously you're going to be using kind of statistical models and algorithms and applying that during your kind of AI journey. So it's very important for you to kind of familiarize yourself with any coding language that you are interested in. And then the third step is I would highly recommend is to work on very great hands-on projects. So for that one, to work on hands-on projects, I have here a link, and I think Vivek, we can share that in the chat as well. For example, let's say take a project, and like an actual project which has a data set and which has like Visual Studio Code, for example, that you can use to kind of write the code in it and such. So this kind of helps you like actually not only learn what you've learned. So after, let's say, I would highly recommend for them to use Microsoft learn at their own path, resources, use the GitHub repo that we had, the GitHub link for AI for beginners. Learn that. After that, start by actually applying what you actually learned, to actually start getting used to those hands-on projects, and kind of to be applying different models here and there to kind of familiarize yourself even more. So for example, here, this is an actually Microsoft learning path, which is about, for example, this is a project about predicting rocket launch delays with machine learning. This is just an example I pulled out for you. And what this kind of has, it kind of takes you as an example through the steps of that, and how you can use apply machine learning to solve that. So this is a way where you can also take that and start actually applying it yourself. So I would highly recommend for you to check out that one as well. And sorry about that one. And the last one is highly recommended. The last step is to connect yourself with an AI community for networking and exchanging ideas and getting to know about opportunities in the field. After you've kind of gone through this learning journey, it is very important to keep learning, because AI is a field that is growing every single day. You have all these new technologies. You have to always be up to date with the latest technologies, with what's always out there. So it's very important to kind of build an AI community. And what we have here at Microsoft Reactor is we actually have, people from different backgrounds, different speakers, cloud advocates, guests, experts in the field, who kind of always give these sessions, on, for example, you want to learn about AI, they would give sessions on AI. So you can stay always connected to us on our meetup, Microsoft Reactor Middle East and Africa, where you can, always see and stay up to date with the latest events from the speakers that are, close to what you want to learn. And also to get to know about opportunities in the field. So, for example, you can look, for example, in India, I'm pretty sure, you guys have maybe some workshops or some, I don't know, like a summit or something, or like events, or most probably in-person events, so you can always also stay up to date with those, to kind of, network with like-minded people, share ideas, exchange ideas, add to kind of add that value to you. That is a very important one, which I've learned throughout my career. So that is one I think is very important as well. For you, Vivek, do you want to add something?
Yeah, I mean, so I just want to summarize like how you can
Yeah.
get started.
Yes.
So, bunch of resources we have shared in the chat,
Yes.
and just go through all those links. And that's an amazing Learn path, which is there on GitHub. There are Learn modules, which is there on Microsoft Learn, and you just have to make sure that you spend a little bit of time on that,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then learn a coding language, either Python or R programming language. And most importantly, as Hadel mentioned, try to do some projects, so that
Yes.
will give you a very good experience. And you could try a couple of modules on MS Learn, like the one which was shared with all, which is already having data sets for you to
Yeah.
try it out, and so that you can learn different things. And I've shared bunch of links as well with respect uh, to the algorithms, to
Mhm.
understanding of supervised, unsupervised, and random, all the things which is there. So I've shared all the links with you. And of course, at the end, just make sure you get involved with the community. So
Yeah.
the more
Very
you
important.
talk to people, the more
Mm.
you learn stuff. Like, see, I've been doing this, but I'm talking to Hedel today, and I'm learning so many new things. So
Amazing.
that's what community learning is all about. I could sit here and Google search all of these things,
Yeah.
but it's much easier to learn just by interacting with somebody, right? And that's what community is all about. So that's exactly what Hedel is trying to tell here. So just go ahead and take these steps. Okay. Let's move on.
Great.
There's bunch of, by the way, there is bunch of questions. Okay, so let's keep some 10 minutes for answering all the questions.
Okay.
We'll come to the questions at the end. Let's finish off what we have actually planned, and then we can take all those questions. You know.
Perfect. Yeah. So the next kind of thing is AI in Microsoft Azure. And that is actually a kind of, we have a few slides on that. So shall we go through them very quickly, or do you want to maybe maybe we should kind of briefly talk about it? Maybe Vivek, you would give an explanation on AI in Microsoft Azure and maybe like the services that we have, and then maybe we can take the questions.
Yeah, we just have to. I mean, we can just spend time on what
Yeah.
services we have and why these services, when to use these services,
Yeah. Perfect.
and that will be perfect. And then we can take all the questions, because we want to make sure that community get answered.
Yes, of course. We will answer all your questions. Don't worry. And we love the question engagement, so keep them coming. So, obviously, maybe Vivek, I leave that to you to kind of maybe introduce Azure AI.
Wow, that's a good thing. So there are three buckets actually in Azure. So one is where you have pre-trained
Mm,
models, which you call it as cognitive services,
yes,
and which is already pre-trained, pre-model built, and we are building model at the back end for you, so that you don't have to,
do that.
you don't have to build it. So the thing is, you have an application, and you can just bring AI to your application just by using those set of services. So you don't have to worry about building a model, training something, and trying to implement it. You can also do the custom thing, obviously. That is also part of that bucket. And the second bucket is where the knowledge mining is there. So
Yeah.
as we know, right, it's all about data, and there are
Yes.
different data sources. There are a bunch of sources like Excel sheet, the PDFs, the images, and other things, right?
Yeah.
So how do you bring all these things together and make sense out of this data and build a analytics out of this data? So it's a knowledge mining, data search, search. We have Azure Search is service we have. And the last bucket which I say is the Azure machine learning
Mm-hmm.
bucket,
Yeah.
where you know it's basically you build the models. So you bring in data, you build a model, and then you deploy it. What we provide is the infrastructure for you, the data scientist in a box for you, which is the auto ML, and
Mm-hmm.
using different pipelines, the ML ops which is required to build your data pipeline models and put it up there, and train it and create a URL for it, and use that URL, and through the SDK, and then you make predictions. So
Yes.
the the first bucket, we already have the trained models for you. You don't
Yes.
have to worry. The second bucket is to make sense out of all the data which you have, use that as a search engine, build a search, or use the data to build Power BI dashboards, or the analytic dashboards, or maybe something else as well. And then at the last one is you yourself bringing in data and building your own models, and deploying those models, and using that model for implementing your AI system. Am I correct? So
Are
hopefully I
more
was
than correct. Yes, you have summarized it in maybe probably the easiest way possible to to kind of understand what we have on Azure AI, and I couldn't have said it in a better way. So you've summarized it in a wonderful way. And with that being said, I'm actually going to continue and kind of we've already seen where AI can be used in different industries. So I'm just going to kind of skip this one. Artificial intelligence isn't coming. Sorry about that one. Okay. So that being said, we are actually going to talk quickly on like similar key workloads that we have that fall under AI. So obviously we talked about machine learning, which is kind of the foundation for every AI system that you have. So it's the way where you kind of teach or train a computer to kind of make predictions based on the data that you feed it. We also have anomaly detection. So basically, the system will kind of detect any kind of unusual activity or errors that you have in a system. We have computer vision, which is the system will kind of the software will kind of interpret the world through maybe cameras, sensors, videos, and images like we see on the streets. We have natural language processing, so this kind of uses AI to kind of interpret any written or spoken language or translations and respond in the similar way. And you have the knowledge mining, as you said. So we extract information from lots of probably most probably unstructured data in order to create a searchable knowledge store. So we're going to go through each one of these kind of very quickly to kind of help you understand. But first, we're going to start, how, let's talk about machine learning very quickly. So how machines learn, we obviously went through this, so we know that machines learn from data. So basically, obviously data can be, we are living in a world where data is used every single day. Actually, 2.5 quintillion bytes of data is generated every single day by us. So you can only imagine how this number will only grow by the years that are coming. And this data can be from the social media clicks, from sensors, from the homes, from our cars, from public transportation, infrastructure, factories, and so much more, even from photographs, from videos, and so much. So obviously we have all that kind of big data, and this is where kind of machines learn. They learn from all that data. And actually, obviously, we train as like a data science engineer or a data scientist. You will use that data to kind of train the machine learning models to help you make the predictions and conclusions based on the relationships they find in the data. So, for example, let's take a very quick example here. So, for supervised machine learning, this is a very quick example. You will start by, you have cats. So your data is cats. You will start by labeling them as cats, and then you will train your AI model to know that the pictures of these cats are actually cats. And then you will start by actually predicting. So you will start feeding the model like picture of a dog, and then a cat here, a cat here, and then a dog. And then you will let your AI model kind of predict and do the work for you. So it will, so the AI model should be able to kind of help you label if they are cats or not cats. So this is kind of a very simple way of how the process kind of works. Um, this is another example. So let's say, for example, there's like an environmental conservation organization, and they want volunteers to kind of identify different species of wildflowers using a phone application. Now, so let's say the first thing that they will do here is they will kind of collect the samples of wildflowers that they have. Then they will start by labeling, giving each wildflower the name of it, and then this label data will be processed using the algorithm, and it will kind of find relationships between the features of the samples and the labeled species that it has. Based on that, the results of the algorithm will be summarized, and then when new samples are found, when you add like new samples of wildflowers, the volunteers will be able, sorry, when you add kind of new samples to it, the AI system should be able to kind of identify the correct species label. So this is a very quick animation of what I just talked about. Here we have the labeling, it will go through the processing, and then the results will go through a model. And then, once you add like a new kind of sample, it will kind of, the AI system will tell you, oh, this type of wildflower is called Abelius perinus, for example. So yes. Now, in Azure, of course, we have the Azure Machine Learning Service, which is a cloud-based platform, and it does kind of all the machine learning kind of work for you to create, manage, and publish machine learning models. So based on the feature that you are trying to kind of, what feature you want, you have, you have several options. So for example, let's say you want to kind of build automate, or you want to use automated machine learning. And what the feature does is it enables people who are not experts, so say you're not expert into, don't know much about machine learning and AI, or don't know much how to code. It will help This feature will help non-experts to quickly create an effective machine learning model from the data. So you also have Azure Machine Learning Designer, you have data and compute management, and you have, for example, data pipelines. So there's like several kind of features, of course, but these are some just to kind of quickly give you idea. So based on what you are trying to look for, you can find that on our platform on Azure, and it can do that for you. Okay, so we have now, let's move on to anomaly detection. So with anomaly detection, you are kind of detecting if there's like unusual patterns or unusual behavior. So for example, let's say you are creating a software system to monitor credit card transactions and detect if there are unusual patterns that indicate fraud. Or maybe you want to, or maybe let's think about an application that will track activity in an automated production line and will identify failures. Or let's imagine you have a racing car telemetry system that will use kind of sensors to warn engineers if there will be potential mechanical failures or something before that race actually happens. These scenarios are actually addressed by what we call anomaly detection. And anomaly detection, to put it in very simple words, it's kind of analyzes data over time to identify unusual changes. So for example, let's take the racing car scenario that I just said. So the first thing that you have is the sensors will start collecting the telemetry data. So for example, you have telemetry data could be like the brake temperature, the engine revolutions, the speed maybe, and so on. Then the model will be trained to kind of understand what expected fluctuations in the telemetry measurements over time could happen. And then you will kind of test it. So if a measurement or something new maybe occurs outside the normal expected range, the model will report that there's an anomaly, there's something that is going wrong, and then it can be used to kind of like alert the driver the race engineer to call the driver in to kind of check in and stop the issue before like the race moves on. So this is a very quick animation of what I was saying. So you have the sensors, you have the data, and then you will train the anomaly detection model, and then it will kind of tell you if something is working or something is not working. Next, we have computer vision. This is a very familiar and very common one, obviously, that we use. And the most popular example that we can use for computer vision, since it deals with visual processing, is Facebook. Obviously, once we all post pictures on Facebook, it uses computer vision to actually identify who the people are in photos. And as you can see here, like here we have the computer vision in the street, so it actually identifies, if this is a car, if this is a traffic light, maybe if this is a window and such, or if this is a person and such. So we have computer vision. Now, most computer vision, solutions actually have several tasks. So, for example, we have image classification. So, I'm going to briefly summarize this for you. So, with image classification, as you can see in the picture here, you have a picture of a taxi. So, it will literally tell you, okay, it will identify or the machine learning model will classify the image based on what it is, basically, or their content. So, this is what image classification is. Then you have object detection. So it will kind of detect, objects based on what they are, classifying individual objects within an image, and even identifying like their location within like a bounding box. So as you can see here, it highlights the bus, and then you have the car, and then you have the cyclist. Another part of computer vision task is semantic segmentation. And what this is, it is kind of a machine learning technique, which kind of has uses images, or classifies images based on the object to which they belong. So for example, it will classify or highlight them in different colors. So for example, the bus is highlighted in red, the car is highlighted in blue, and the cyclists or the people are highlighted in green. And then we have the image analysis. So this kind of, if you show, the computer vision or the machine learning model like an image, it should be able to kind of read what that image is and kind of give you a simple short caption on it. So as you can see here, it gave a caption that says a person with a dog on a street. So this actually combines machine learning models with advanced image analysis techniques to extract information from images, including tags. The last two tasks that fall under computer vision, we have face detection, analysis, and recognition. So obviously, as I mentioned, Facebook is a very popular one here, and it will detect, the face based on, human faces in an image, based on their facial features. And the last one is optical character recognition, or OCR. So this kind of reads maybe like, let's say, signs in the streets, or maybe like shop stores, the names of the shop stores, and it will literally tell you the names of that. So since we have all that, we have, you don't have to worry all about that. In Microsoft Azure, we have all those computer vision services that can do that for you. These are cognitive services that will help you create the solutions that you're looking for. So based on the service that you are looking for, you can easily find it on Azure. So let's say you want to kind of use computer vision. So the service will help you analyze images, extract descriptions, tags, objects, and text. We have custom vision, face, and form recognizer. We will move on to natural language processing. So obviously this understands written and spoken language. So anything that is, any text you have in documents and emails, or in maybe other sources and kind of documents and such, it will analyze and interpret that text for you. NLP can also interpret spoken language, give you speech responses. Anything that is kind of, has to do with written phrases or spoken phrases, languages, and such, this is what NLP will do for you. And for example, there's actually a virtual VR reality game that takes place in a science fiction world, which is called Starship Commander. And the game actually uses NLP to enable the players to control the narrative and interact with the in-game characters and starship systems. So this is just a way of where you can see NLP be used. And of course, in Azure, we have, NLP solutions based on the service that you're looking for. So if you are looking for language, if you're looking to, translate text between, let's say, more than 60 languages, we have that. You can, synthesize speech, translate spoken languages, and we also have the Azure bot service. So you can go through these at your own pace, of course. And we've posted the Microsoft Learn document for you and the GitHub repo. So you will find also these resources and everything, since we are moving a bit fast. Last one we have is the knowledge mining. So obviously this uses, you have those large volumes of data, unstructured data, and it will create a searchable knowledge store for you. Now, one of these solutions is a very popular one, which is Azure Cognitive Search, which is a solution that has tools for building indexes. So you can go into more details into that, at your own pace if you would like. But I wanted to add this machine learning algorithm cheat sheet, since obviously we are kind of rushing a bit for the last part. But I wanted to kind of help you understand, based on what you want to do. Let's say you want to predict values, you are going to use, if you want to predict values, you will say it's a regression problem. So it kind of gives you examples of the types of what algorithms you have, and such. And then let's say you want to predict, for example, between or let's say you want to classify images, so you can use image classification, and then you also have kind of the algorithm that you can use for it. So this kind of cheat sheet, it helps you choose the best machine learning algorithm for your predictive analytics solution. And this is a Microsoft Azure machine learning algorithm cheat sheet that can kind of help you, as you take your first steps in learning, kind of maybe kind of summarize for you like the structure of all the AI kind of machine learning algorithms that we have available for you. So
So this
yeah,
basically, this basically actually answers my question, right? So if
yes,
you have like, if you have a problem statement, you just come here, look into
yes,
this cheat sheet, and where see where exactly you are solving the problem, and you
exactly.
have the algorithms ready there, so you can just go and pick it up. And some of these algorithms are already available on Azure Machine
Yeah,
Learning, so
yeah,
you just go there and apply this with
yeah,
your data sets. Perfect.
exactly. Yeah. So obviously you can find this. The link to this one is aka.ms/ml cheat sheet if you want, or you can take a screenshot, or kind of have it at your own pace. That being said, Vivek, we are done. I think we are right on time, or maybe just a bit over. But I would like to always end this presentation with a quote that I actually love by Dave Waters, and he said, "Predicting the future isn't magic; it is artificial intelligence." That is why I encourage everyone to get into the field of artificial intelligence. Start learning at your own pace. Start making connections. Build a community. Always attend. Always be out there to kind of do learn at your own pace, because once you learn, you only kind of grow at your own pace. And you're always, of course, it's very important to kind of do hands-on projects and get yourself familiar with the tools, with the technologies, with the coding language and such, as we mentioned before. So this is actually how I would like to end it on my side. And we are going to, let's share the links again, I think, in the chat box, for the two links. So obviously we have the first link is which is the Microsoft Learn platform. The second link is the GitHub AI for beginners curriculum that you have, or like learning path.
Yeah, let me share that as well.
Yes.
Before I share that, I'm just looking at questions. There is bunch of questions, Hadeel.
Yeah.
So we're going to spend next probably 10 more minutes because we are over time as well. But let's
Okay.
make sure that we answer it quickly
Yeah.
for them. So there is a question like, how do I retrieve data to analyze a patient's data? Basically, they are looking like it's because data is with the patient. So how do you get those kind of data to build a model?
Okay, that's a very good question. It really depends. Like the question is how to retrieve the data, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so obviously you have a bunch of kind of, where you want to get the data from. It's really like kind of up to you. So for the patient data, you can maybe kind of if you have someone in your organization, let's say you work in a hospital or something, maybe they can kind of provide you with that. If not, let's say you want to kind of build a model, and like let's say you want to test that out, you can find some patient data, let's say online. So for example, Kaggle is a way where you can find free data sets. For example, we have a lot of, we also have Knuggets as well. It's another kind of platform where you can find data sets for that. So if it's hard for you to kind of get the actual patient data, or actual data that you are looking for, there are always like these kind of, we can always use the internet to kind of find what we are looking for, and easily kind of play with that in a way. I think that's the best way I can answer it. Maybe Vic, if you have a suggestion to that, you can add to.
There are a bunch of, as you mentioned, there are a bunch of places where that is data.world or
Yeah,
Kaggle, where you
exactly.
can find couple of things. So that
Resource.
is definitely where you can go back and get those data. So let's move on to the next question. So next question is, can you give a short overview how it works on Azure. Yes, we have done a in Azure Happy Hour we did Azure AI series, so we do have a complete series. I did share that link in the chat for people to take a look at it. Let me again bring that link for you. So yeah, this is the link, so you can go back and go and see. It's been done in a hands-on, and you can see with the example. And the series is four-part series, so it's basically covering all the things which we discussed as well from an Azure AI perspective. So not building models, but it is basically how to use already pre-built models, right? So that's the thing. So yeah, so let me go back to the questions, to bunch of questions. So it's very difficult to look into all the questions now. So there is a question on if I'm not a good at mathematics, and uh, should I, pursue AI/ML? So is mathematics is important for having a career in AI/ML? That's the question actually.
Okay, so as someone who comes from a obviously a background in AI and data science, it's very important to familiarize. You don't have to be excellent with it, but at least just know like some probabilities, some statistics. Familiarize yourself. Start taking some online courses. Start taking some free courses. Start learning at your own pace. It's very important to familiarize yourself because yes, if you want to do like an AI project like by yourself, yes, you would have kind of need to not you don't have to be absolutely amazing at mathematics and like get an A grade. No, you just have to kind of be familiar with the basics. So I would recommend like probability, statistics, linear algebra a bit, and such. So have a brief overview of how that works, because obviously when you apply like machine learning algorithms and models, they do use a lot of obviously mathematics and statistics and such. So you kind of need to be familiar. You don't have to be an expert at it, but it's very important to kind of familiarize yourself and kind of have a background in mathematics, I believe, or statistics, linear algebra, probability. Kind of know the foundations of that. So you can take like a very brief course or two just to kind of get the base, because it can get you a bit confused once you work around it, and you wouldn't be able to kind of know how to specifically maybe use the algorithm. So instead of kind of getting lost, it would be a great way to kind of familiarize yourself with that.
Yeah, and there's a specific question for you,
Yeah.
which is where can we find AI community in Dubai?
Okay, that's a very good question. So the best kind of answer I can give to them, and if we can share the link, is the Microsoft Reactor Middle East and Africa group that we have on Meetup. Why I say that is because for us in Dubai right now, we are not doing many as much in-person kind of events. So we are mostly focusing on hybrid, so online. And if we are doing in-person, or when we get the space to host an in-person event, we will do that. And you will obviously know if we do have some kind of AI community or something, or like an AI event or a get-together, or maybe even a career panel discussion, anything on our Microsoft Middle East and Africa meetup group. So stay, like I would recommend them to kind of stay, keep an eye open on that. If we do have any kind of events or something, you can stay there. But even if you don't have a community, you can always kind of stay up to date with the latest sessions that you have upcoming from different experts. It can not only it's not only me. You have other guests, you have other experts, you have other cloud advocates that share a lot of rich content that we have. So I would highly recommend to for that person who is based in Dubai to join our meetup group, and kind of have an idea that if we post something in the future, you will get that.
Yeah, and our friend Liam has a question.
Hi.
Hey, Liam. So the question is basically uh, there are different programming languages with performance levels. So, what are you looking for within a language to make it suitable for AI projects? So, if you have to choose a programming language for building an AI projects, and how do I choose which programming language? Either it is Python, should I use .NET, should I use Java or R programming language? How do I decide that?
Personally, like I would kind of say, choose what you feel you would work best for you, whatever you choose. Like for me, I took Python, I took R, for example. Let's say I like to work more with Python because, let's say, as a base, they're all programming languages, so you can basically use anyone. So whatever you feel is most comfortable to you, you can use. As a beginner, kind of friendly, starting. Let's say we have here like people from the audience from different backgrounds who want to shift into AI, or people who want to get into this field and don't have any experience. I would highly recommend, for example, checking out Python, because obviously we have the Python libraries and the packages and all that. So it's kind of an easy, beginner friendly language that I would highly recommend. But really, it kind of depends on you. You can kind of, do your research and see what you are most comfortable with. There's no like specific way of what language you should use. It depends on you, really. But if you are a beginner, I would highly recommend, for example, using Python, because it is kind of the easiest, most basic, beginner friendly programming language. I hope that
True.
answered your question, Liam.
Ye- Yeah, there was one more question as well. Would you
Yes.
recommend using Jupyter notebooks with Python?
Yes. Why not?
Yeah.
Yes. It all works, everything works. So it really depends. As I said, there's no kind of specific way of what you want to use, or it really depends on you, what you feel comfortable using, what you are familiar with, what program you are familiar using, or what tool. But yeah, it really kind of depends on you. You can use whatever you want. You just have to kind of know how to, you have to be familiar with the programming language, and you kind of use what platform you want to learn on. It really depends on you. So there's no kind of, oh, what is the best platform that I can use with what. It depends on you and what you feel comfortable using.
Yeah. And I think there's bunch of questions coming in as well. So I will have to, restrict because of the time. But
Yeah.
there is one last question,
Mm.
one or two questions which I would love to pick it up is, how do you decide how many data point is correct number to determine the outcome of something critical in AI system? So how do I even come up with the data points? Like, this is enough data points I have to build my model, and it is building it for right things.
So this is something I will actually cover in the next slide. This is something. What a coincidence! So next week I am going to cover a session, data science for beginners, and this actual point I am going to take you through it and kind of tell you exactly like how you can choose, if you have enough data, if the points are enough for you or not. So because it's a bit kind of more detailed, so I don't have like a quick answer for you. I would highly recommend for you to kind of stay tuned and watch this session. So it's going to be on November 9th at 3 p.m. GST time, which is UAE time. It's going to be a live stream event, and I would highly recommend for that person who asked the question to obviously check that session out, because it will really help them understand the basics and why we choose the amount of data points, or when data set is enough. But if they want maybe a quicker answer, that is like very like top of my head answer, is you like, if you can, if you can retrieve the more data, the better. So if you have more data, just add it. It would be better. It would be better for your AI model, because you are training your AI model and you have this data. So if you teach, if you feed your data, maybe let's say some data, it will not understand what exactly the context. And if you're giving it a model, it will not maybe probably give you the best kind of result that you're looking for. So the more data you have, the better. So if you do have more data, and more data that is related to the problem, or maybe the objective that you have, definitely do add that. But also stay tuned for my data science for beginners series, which I am starting next week as well. It will give you kind of more info on that. And what is the last question? Is it a last question do we have?
That's the last question.
Yeah, let's
That's
go.
the last question. So there's a bunch of questions coming in as well. But yeah,
Okay.
uh, we will have to cut short this thing. And just to summarize, we have shared a couple of amazing links actually. So it's in the chat, and do watch the videos again. I've made sure those links come up on the screens as well, so that you can go back and take a look at it. But I'll again post it for you. One is aka.ms start with AI. So you just go back there and you can play around and learn from basic AI, right? And also
Yes.
try some of the things. And there are some data sets as well there.
Yeah.
And there are another things which is there, which is AI beginners Azure Happy Hours link, which is there, which is a GitHub repo which we
Yes.
shared. Basically, so that is something which you should go back and get started with. These are the
Yeah.
two main links which I have shared. So make sure that you go back and take a look at it. That's it. So yeah. So thank you very much, Hadil, coming on to the Azure Happy Hour show. And it was a really amazing, amazing session. Lot of learning and so many things learning from me as well. There are a bunch of questions asked by the community. Thank you, people, for asking those questions, because everybody is learning through those questions as well, like when we answer it, and we are also learning from you.
Yes.
That's what community is all about. Thank you for joining in. Stay tuned, we have more things coming in. That's Go and take a look at the meetup group links which has been shared. So a bunch of things happening at the reactor. So, yes, join us for next session. Thank you very much. Thank
Perfect.
you.
Thank you, Vivek, and thank you everyone for having me. And it was a pleasure to kind of give this session. And yeah, stay tuned on our Microsoft Reactor channel. We will always have all these upcoming amazing events for you. And thank you to the audience and for all the amazing engagement. And Vivek, it was a pleasure to be on your show. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for
Thank
coming
you.
in as well.
Thank you.
Thank you all.